Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Where did you enlist?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Where is that?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham. And why did you join?
Well, my daddy worked in a barber shop, and right down the street from that barber shop, they had a big poster of a Marine in dress blues. And I always wanted, I said, boy, I need to get me a set of them dress blues. I sure like them dress blues. And I got to reading about it, about the Marine Corps, and about the wars they had fought in earlier. And I said, well, I'm gonna join the Marines. So I kind of slipped away from home. My parents didn't know it, and I joined. And of course, my mother and my daddy, they was real upset about it to start off with. But I wrote them a letter after I got to California and told them everything was all right, that I was going to be a Marine.
Well, that sounds like an interesting situation there. Do you recall your first days in service?
Yeah, I recalled it. There was three of us that rode from Birmingham to San Diego, where we took boot camp. And anyway, we got the bus picked us up at the train station, and we went to the Marine camp there in San Diego. And one of the boys was smoking a cigarette, and he threw that cigarette down and stomped on it. And when he did, a little Marine corporal crawled up one side of him, down the other, made him pick that cigarette up. He told me, he said, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna like this outfit. That was Glenn Johnson that did that. Yeah.
What did it feel like that first forced march you had to do?
Tired.
There you go. Tell me about your boot camp training a little bit, some of your experiences, if you will.
Well, you know, in boot camp, there's always one guy that the DI's picked on. We had two sergeants and two corporals that brought us through. And this Corporal Hughes, he was from down south Alabama, somewhere down there. He was hair-lipped. And of course, I was the one that he picked on to give a bad time to, because I think he knew how old I was. You know, I was 13 years old. And I think what he was doing, he was trying to get me to quit. And, but I remember one time we was in the barracks, and as soon as you walk in the barracks, well, on the right-hand side was my bunk, and on the left-hand side was his desk. Well, the same guy that had joined with us, Glenn Johnson, he was in the shower, taking a shower, and he was singing. So Corporal Hughes, he hollered at me, hey, Trero. And I run up in front of his desk, you know, and Private W.S. Trero requests permission to speak to his instructor, sir. He said, go back there and see who's singing. So I went back there, and it was Glenn. I said, Glenn. I said, this guy was a corporal. I said, Glenn, Corporal Hughes told me to come back here and see who's singing. He said, oh, I ain't gonna tell you what he told me to tell Corporal Hughes. Anyway, it was bad language. And anyway, I went back to Corporal Hughes' desk, and he said, who's back there singing, Trero? I said, ain't nobody back there singing, sir. Boy, he reached over that desk and grabbed me and pulled me right up in his face. Me and him breathing the same breath. And he pushed me all the way across that barracks, and I hit that barracks wall and looked up, and there he stood. Looked like he's 9 foot tall. And he said, get your locker box. And I thought right then, well, they're gonna send me back to Alabama. And it wasn't though. If you ever been in one of them old barracks, they got a GI key on each end of them. Well, I got that locker box on my head, and I had to walk from one GI can, around that GI can, down, around that GI can, down to barracks. He'd holler, "You tired, Trero?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, do 5 more." I do 5 more. He said, "You tired, Trero?" "No, sir." I mean, you know, you're not gonna win, you know. And that's, I'll always remember that. But I contribute to, as tough as he was on me, I think if he wasn't that tough, well, I wouldn't have made it. Because he was tough, boy. He was a tough, been in the Marine Corps 20 years, he's a corporal. And of course, he'd probably been a sergeant 2 or 3 times, got busted. But I seen him one time after that, and it was aboard ship. And I didn't get to talk to him, but you couldn't miss him because he was hair-lipped. But I think, a lot of times I think if it wasn't for Corporal Hughes, I'd probably got killed somewhere.
Yeah.
He made me tough.
When did you say you signed up? What was that, in World War II? Where?
I joined the Marine Corps the 15th of September 1941, 3 months before Pearl Harbor.
And where exactly did you go?
Well, I went to Camp Elliott. Of course, it's gone now. They got a Camp Pendleton out there now. But I went to, took my, after basic training in boot camp, well, they sent me out to Camp Elliott. Well, I was in regimental weapons. Well, and what that consists of was every weapon the Marine Corps had, the 105, 155, water cooled, air cooled 50s, the 30s, and I was learning all their weapons, 81 mortar, and I was learning all their weapons. And that's what regimental weapons was. Well, in the meantime, the war started in 41, December, and the 6th Regiment, they were up in Reykjavik, Iceland. Well, they sent them back to the States, and at that time, a company only probably had about 100 men or so, and so they was reinforcing each company. So they broke regimental weapons up and put me in B Company, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, and they could have put me in mortars or artillery, whatever, because I more or less I knew, you know, the basics of all of them. And but anyway, they put me in B Company, which I was #1 machine gunner on a water cooled 30.
That was still in California?
That was in California before we went overseas. And we had, of course, training with the 30 caliber. And I carried the tripod, which weighed 51 pounds, and my #2 gunner carried the gun, which weighed 33 3/4 pounds, and held 7.5 pints of water. Had a water jacket around the barrel to keep it cool.
What'd you think about that piece of equipment?
Well, it was the best we had, you know. But you had a lot of firepower there. You know, one company had them four heavy machine guns, plus your BAR men, and plus, you know, your riflemen. So one company had a lot of firepower.
After you left California, where did you go?
We went to Wellington, New Zealand for more training, and then from there we went to Guadalcanal.
Were you among the first bunch to get in there, in the Guadalcanal?
The first what?
First group.
Oh, the first week?
Yes.
Well, we went, the first Marine Division had went in August of 42, that was the initial landing. And we come in to, supposed to do a mop up, to, you know, to get the rest of the Japs that was left, and which was a lot of them was left too. And and it was, you know, regular, frontline combat, fighting.
What was your assignment on that, when you were there? What, were you still on that machine gun?
Oh, I still, yeah, had my water cool 30, you know, except when we went on a patrol up through the jungles, and of course I couldn't carry that 30. I carried the rifle in, and that thing was too, you know, too heavy to be going through the jungle with it.
Let me ask you this, were there many casualties, in your unit, in that first engagement?
Well, we hit the, of course, there wasn't no Japs on the beach when we hit the Water Canal. The first division had them pushed back in the hills. And of course, we went in there after them. And we had, you know, had a lot of firefights with them. And I remember the first patrol we went on with, my gunner, Sergeant Buffkin. Well, he was my gunny, and I had stepped down off of kind of a little knoll, and I seen these Japs. There was two of them, and they were talking to one another. And I got real excited, and I had an 03 rifle, and I got real excited, and I went and told Buffy. I said, Buffy, I said, there's two Japs down there. He said, well, go kill them son of a bitch. What do you think we're over here for? Anyway, I slipped up on them and shot both of them. And then there was a big hole there, like a cave. And I said, hey, Buffy, there's a cave here. And he said, well, throw a grenade up in there, maybe some more in there. And I threw the grenade up in there. I don't know if there's any in there or not, but, you know, I didn't go in there and see. But, yeah, I'll never forget that. He said, well, go kill them son of a bitches. He says, what do you think we're over here for?
Yeah, I hear that. Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences. That's one of them.
I had a bunch of them. And after Guadalcanal, we went to Hilo, Hawaii, and for more training and to you know, to get newer troops come in for the ones that we lost. Get re-fortified our companies, and we hit Trero in November '43, and anyway, my number 2 gunner, George P. Schminty, he was from New York, and anyway, we had one of the counterattacks we had one night. I think it was the second night on the island. This is the island that the Japanese said it'd take 1 million men to take. We had it in 76 hours, we secured it. And,
what island was that?
Trero.
Tarawa? Yeah.
Yeah, Tarawa. And, but anyway, we had this counterattack, and George, of course, he fed the gun and I fired it. And then all of a sudden I got 2 holes through the water jacket. Well, I had fired quite a few boxes through that gun already, and like I say, it was water cooled. It had 7.5 pints of water in it, and that water was hot. It was boiling. And when it got hit, well, all that steam come out and hit George in the face. Well, he started hollering, Trero, I'm hit. I said, shut up, George. I said, you ain't hit this hot water. I mean, I remember that real good.
You never never made prison. They never made a prisoner of war out of it, did you?
Prisoner of war?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, look here.
We didn't stay still long enough to get to be prisoner of war.
Were you awarded any medal citations, anything like that?
Well, yeah. I really don't know how many that we did get. I know we got, I got a Purple Heart, and then, we got the Asiatic Pacific, and, with 3 stars, and, I can't think of all of them right off. I think about 12 or 13 of them, you know, the rifle,
Yeah.
and, rifle and pistol, you know, you got it for them. And then, we got 3 President unit citations. And, then I know there's one that we got for hitting Saipan, because Saipan, it belonged to the Japanese, that was their island. And we got a medal, and a campaign ribbon for going to, you know, taking Saipan. And, just several of them we got that I just can't recall all of them.
What was your most serious injury?
Well, on Guadalcanal, I got wounded in the left leg with shrapnel. And, I didn't go to the hospital. The corpsman took care of it for me. And, about every few days, I'd put that sulfur they give you.
Yeah.
I'd put that back in there, and, it healed it up. And then, I got, on Saipan, I got hit with a machine gun. I mean, I was firing and he was firing. I think his aim was a little better than mine.
And how did you stay in touch with your family? Just by mail?
By mail. You know, then they had what they call email.
Right.
And, you write a letter, well, half of it was blocked out.
Yeah, they kind of frowned about telling where you were and what you was doing.
No, you couldn't tell them all that.
That's
No,
what
you
I'm
couldn't tell
saying.
them nothing.
What was the food like about that time?
The food? Well, we had the sea ration, you know.
Yeah, familiar with it.
You're familiar with sea rations,
yes.
you know, the biscuits and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, one funny thing about the sea rations, there on Guadalcanal, while I was we had pulled back to the rear echelon, and, I was on guard duty, with sea rations. They had these sea rations, they just had crates of them stacked up, and they had a big tarp over them. Well, it was raining like the devil, and I kept looking at that tarp, I kept seeing it moving. I said, there's something up under that tarp. And, anyway, when I got, when my relief come, I told him, I said, hey, there's something on that tarp. I said, watch it. And sure enough, it was moving around. And we said, well, I wonder what that is. We don't know. And they had the big old lizards on Guadalcanal. And, so he and I went up to the edge of that tarp, and we throwed it back real quick, and there was a little Jap. And he was opening all them sea can rations and getting the candy out of them. Remember the candy they had on them?
Yeah, I remember that.
He had his pockets full, he had all his bosom full, he got all that candy. And we got him and took him back to the CP post, and they had a little area there blocked off, had it barbed wired off, and they had a few Japs over in the middle of it. They were prisoners, we had took them, you know. And, so I don't know what happened to them after that.
Yeah, now I've got a question. Did he keep that candy?
I really don't know. That's a good question. I imagine they let him have it. He done, I mean, he done, I don't know how many cases he's done open up.
Is that the island that you went out on the ship and got all the food and brought it back?
That was on, tomorrow.
This is the story he loved to tell about you.
Yeah, my journal.
Okay. Did you have plenty of supplies though for us, eating and ammo and everything like that? All you needed, or was
Well,
it slow, or slim at times?
Yeah, well, you know, we were, you know, a hit and run outfit, the Marine Corps, you know. Unless you're gonna be in one place a long time, they set up kitchens and all that stuff. But, I know what my wife was talking about on Tawara, well, after the campaign, well, of course, we had sea rations, that's all we had. And so, there was one rubber boat left that we found. And, I got that rubber boat, and, I got 3 or 4 guys in my squad, and there were some merchant ships way out there. And we had Japanese souvenirs. We had all kind of had bullets and knives and hats and all that stuff as souvenirs. And so we paddled out to that doggone ship, that merchant ship, and they throw the boatswain ladder down, and we climbed it, and got up there, and this cook says, what kind of pies do you like, Marine? I said, I like blackberry. Well, I had a pistol, a Japanese pistol, and I gave it to the captain of the ship. And it's a merchant ship, I gave it to him. And anyway, it was getting on real late that afternoon, so I said, we better get back to the beach. And so he gave us a case of eggs and about 6 loaves of what's called field bread. It's not sliced, just a big loaf of bread. And he had about 6 or 7 loaves of that, and gave us a whole slide of bacon and a frying pan. And we lowered that down in the rubber boat, and we started pedaling. Well, it was just about to get dark, and some of the Marines was hollering at us, thought we were some Japs coming in there in a rubber boat. And we started hollering our name, rank, and serial number, you know. And so we went on in, got on the beach and pulled that boat up there. And the next morning, we started cooking bacon and eggs. I think every Marine on that island come up there and got our bacon and eggs. Now you can smell it, them bacon and eggs all over the island. Of course, the island wasn't 2 miles long, about 800 or 900 yards wide.
When that, was that on Saipan?
It was on Trero.
Trero, still, okay.
Yeah. They had 6,000 live Japs on there and about 500 pillboxes. We lost, I think, about 3,500 Marines.
Was that something they ever did special for good luck?
Something I carried for good luck?
Or, yeah, I did, or any kind of ritual, anything? Nothing, huh? It's either with you or it wasn't, right?
Yeah, I believe in good luck, but I don't remember ever having anything that I relied on. Well, this is my good luck piece, I'm not gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
I think if that was the case, everybody would have had something.
I was gonna ask how people entertain themselves, but you kind of figured that out. Any way you could, huh?
Well, you know, of course, I was the #1 gunner in a machine gun. I carried a .45. I suppose that was probably my good luck.
There you go.
My weapons were my good luck. And my journal there, the picture of him, well, he likes to tell that story. He's dead now, he's been dead a long time. But he likes to tell the story about me and these Marines, other Marines pedaling out this boat, this ship, and getting that food and coming back. He was telling my wife all about it. Last time we had a reunion, had been years and years ago, and he was telling her about it. Well, he knew how old I was. And matter of fact, when the war started, when they brought the 6th Regiment back from Reykjavik, Iceland. Well, he was a first lieutenant. He retired 3-star general. But anyway, when he come back, well, my mother had wrote a letter and told him how old I was and all that, you know. And so anyway, now we're still in San Diego. And Gunny Buffy come by and said, "Hey, Trero," said, "the old man wants to see you." I said, "Yeah?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." So I went down and we stayed in tents. I went down and said, "Come on in, son, sit down. You know, them officers they don't talk to you that way. Come on in, son, sit down." And he said, "I got a letter here from your mother." And I said, "Oh, hell." I said, I'm on my way back to Birmingham. And we talked. He asked me a lot of questions, and he says, "You know, we're getting ready to go overseas." And I said, "Yes, sir, I know it." And he said, "You know, we're going in combat. We're going to be in combat. And a lot of people are going to get hurt and killed." And he just laid it on the line. And he said, "You're one of the best machine gunners I got." It's on that picture he's got of me. I got it. And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What are you going to do when we get over there and you on that machine gun and your buddies around you all dead?" I said, "I'll stay on that machine gun, sir." He said, "Go back to your company." That was it.
Let me ask you this: when was the first time that any of the entertainers ever come over there, or when did you get a chance to see them?
What entertainers?
Huh? You
What
never saw it?
entertainers?
They didn't hit your
I never seen them
outfit?
entertainers over
Okay, just thought I'd ask.
there. Not that I know of. I never seen none. You talking about Bob Hope and all
Yeah,
that?
that
No?
much, yeah.
I never seen none of them.
Well, see. Where are some of the places you traveled when you was in, besides the Pacific, or did you just stay in the Pacific?
I stayed in the Pacific the whole time I was in.
Boy. Well, let me go on. I'm skipping here a little bit because we've kind of covered a lot of it. You ever pull any pranks on any of you guys, on any of your buddies?
Do what?
Pranks, you know, short sheet him or anything like that, any of them?
No.
Nah, you didn't have time for that kind of stuff, huh?
You know,
You have photographs of, did you get a chance to take any photographs for
I
any other years?
got a picture in there of the youngest Marines. I've got one in there of we come back from Trero. Well, we were in Hilo, Hawaii, in a council war.
Yeah.
And we had give us a week leave, and I've got a picture of me and two of my buddies, and I'm holding a Jap flag. I got it on Trero. I got it out of a Jap helmet. He had it in his helmet. I got it out, and that flag will. I was commander of the VFW in Conroe for 6 years, and then I was district commander for 2 years, and then Katie opened up a museum, and I carried the flag up there and gave it to them, and for display, and that was I was commander. Yeah, I was commander then, and who was there? The ex-president Bush.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was there, and I shook hands with him, and we got to talking, and I said, "We got a lot in common, Mr. President." He said, "What's that?" I said, "You was the youngest fighter pilot, and I was the youngest Marine." He said, "All right, that'll work."
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Bush too when he was out of a job.
Yeah.
It was, I think he ran. That was the time he ran against what was for the Senate anyhow, and he lost, what was his name? Anyway, he seemed to be a pretty decent
Oh, yeah.
guy at the time. So, let's see, did you keep any personal diary, anything like that?
No, no. And you know, I carried my dog tags, I carried them all over the Pacific, all through boot camp, and I went home and I lost them. After carrying them around my neck 4 years, and went home and lost them. I don't know what that done. But I know you could get more, but the ones they give you today, they're kind of square. Ours was round.
Yeah, round ones?
Yeah, they're round. Marnell steel.
Yeah, I've seen some of those in here, we got.
But I've got a tattoo on my arm.
Oh,
My
really?
dog
That's
tag
it?
number. The T1141, that was tetanus shot, 11th month of 1941.
Man,
And I got my blood type there. So
you carried the information with you.
I carried it with me in case they want to find out what kind of blood I had. It's on my arm. No, but you know, I come home and I got discharged 21 days before I was 17. And when Korea broke out, well, I went up and joined the Marine Corps. I could have got in too if I hadn't had that Marine Corps tattoo. Yeah, I could have got in. And but he spotted that tattoo, so you done been in the Marine Corps. Yeah, well.
Well, why didn't they take you back? I'm
Well, I
curious.
got a medical discharge.
Oh, a medical, I see.
Yeah, and anyway, that's when I got into Merchant Marines. And carrying ammunition over there, you know.
Is there any particular officer or fellow soldiers that you remember specifically?
Yeah, they're all my number 2 gunner, George P. Schminty. Well, he lived in Staten Island, New York, and he was a professor of law. And I'll call him about every once or twice a year. He's got Alzheimer's, and he don't know who I am no more. And then my good buddy Foreman Barrett, well, he was all service welterweight champion. And
Really?
he was from Ada, Oklahoma, and he died 3 or 4 years ago. Just about all the guys that I knew personally, they're gone.
Yeah, I know how that
You
is.
see, I'm 84, and I was 13 when I joined, and so they was 19, 20, 22 years old, 23, so they're up in their 90s, you know?
Yeah.
But then I had one boy that come in as a relief, and I put it in my squad. He carried ammo. He carried 2 boxes of ammo for me. And see, I carried the tripod. Number 2 man carried the gun, and number 3 man carried a steam condensing device and a box of ammo, and the rest of them carried 2 boxes of ammo. 10-man squad. Well, he was in my squad as an ammo carrier, and we hit the beach there on Saipan. Well, he had his ammo box like this. He had his rifle over it like that, and he turned around, and I had my gun set up. He said, "Trero, you want a cigarette?" And I said, "No." And about that time, my squad leader, a guy named Cushenberry, D.D. Cushenberry, and he said, "You know, let's go. Break your gun down, let's go." And so we started inland. That's when artillery started. And about someone hollered, "Tischler got hit." And I crawled over to where he was hit. And top of his helmet had a big hole in it, big piece of shrapnel like that went right top of his head. Well, I traced him back to Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, where he's from, and called to see if anybody had any, his parents was dead, didn't have no brothers, no sisters, couldn't find no kinfolks, and found a distant cousin that belonged to the American Legion. And I told him that you know, that Tischler was in my squad. And he said, well, I didn't know him. He said, well, I know that I remember talking about him, that he got killed overseas. And I said, he said, but he's buried here. I said, would you mind finding out if he's really buried there, if it's him? And so about a week later, I talked to him again. He said, yeah, he said, J.J. Tischler, U.S. Marine Corps, killed 15th September 1944. I said, well, that's him. That's my buddy. So, but he was 17 years old. And hell, that was his first campaign. He wasn't on the beach 20 minutes, so he's dead.
Do you recall the day that you got out of the service, when you got released or discharged, whatever you want to call it?
I recall, yeah, I was in New Orleans, I was in the hospital in New Orleans, and then they sent me over to over to Algiers Naval Ammunition Depot, where I got discharged. And I know the day I was supposed to get my Purple Heart, well, they had the band there, because there's a whole bunch of them, we had Purple Hearts. And they had the band there, and they was all playing. Guess where I was? I was up under the bridge fishing. Boy, they give me hell about that too. You supposed to be here at Trero, you supposed to get your Purple Heart here. Well, I was fishing.
When you finished up, did you go to work, or did you go to school, or what?
Well, I went home, got discharged, of course, in April of '45. You know, there wasn't too much work. And my Uncle Charlie, he worked for Chicago Bridge, and worked out of local 92 in Birmingham, ironworkers local. And so he got me a job as apprentice. Well, my job, I'd have to get on the job like an hour before the regular crew started. I'd go to work at 7 o'clock, and I had 8 welding machines to start. Start them by hand, didn't have any buttons. You had to start them by hand, like an old Model A, you know. And I'd get them things, I was tired by the time 8 o'clock got there. I was already tired. Had to put gas in them, check the oil and all that stuff. And all them welders, they'd go to work, and they'd holler. I was doing an apprenticeship, and I was a go-getter. You know what a go-getter was, don't you? Hey, punk, go down the shack and get me a box of welding rods. Hey, punk, go out there and look at my car and get my coffee bottle. And
yeah, I think they call them gophers today.
that's how I served my apprenticeship. I was a go-getter. But I did that, and then one day this boy got killed. He fell off the building. It was 8 stories tall. And we were building an 8-story building in Gaston, Alabama. And anyway, he fell and got killed. My Uncle Charlie come and asked me. He said, Billy, you don't get Germans pay? And I didn't even know what a German made. I said, yeah, Uncle Charlie. I said, how much does a German make? He said, $1.62 and a half. I said, man, ain't that much money in the world. I was making $1.08. I was apprentice. That's union money. That's union. And anyway, he said, get up there and get up there with that bolt up gang. And so they went to the shack. He got me an ironworker belt, and a 2-pound sledge, a drift pin, and 2 wrenches, and a boat bag. They filled in boats full of, my boat bag, they filled them full of boats. And I had probably 30, 40 pounds around my waist. And anyway, I got to look around. I said, Uncle Charlie, where's the step ladder? He said, step ladder, he said, of course, back then, you didn't use no ladder, you climbed that iron. And them guys climb that iron, they go up it like a cat squirrel. Well, I went over and I grabbed me a column, I'd start up it, I'd get about 6 or 8 feet off the ground, I'd slide down. I stayed black and blue all the time in here. But I was on that job for a year. And then before I come to Texas, I come to Texas in 1950, when I come to Texas.
Did you stay with the steel or the construction? Or did you
Yeah,
stay
I come to Texas and I worked for Brown. Everybody that's ever worked in iron and construction work worked for Brown Root at one time or another. Well, I worked for Brown Root a while, and then for different contractors, and then and one of the companies I had worked for, I forget the guy's name, but anyway, he was going in business for himself, and he was my superintendent on the job one time, and so I called him up, and I said, well, you going to go in business for yourself? And they were building a bridge across White Oak Bayou, Telephone Road, and anyway, I said, you gonna need a good iron worker? He said, you know where I can find one? I said, oh, you go ahead. He said, come on over to the office. And so that Monday I went over to his office, and they were just doing dirt work. There wasn't no work to be done, you know. And they were just laying it out and doing dirt work and stuff like that. And I went in, on the way over there, I got to thinking. I said, you know, I know enough about this business to do it myself. But I don't have no money. How am I gonna be a contractor? I don't have no money. And so anyway, I went over there and I got in the office, and I could read plans, you know. I read the blueprints, and I said, Bill Stevenson, that was his name. He's dead now, but Mr. Stevenson. I said, Bill, won't you sub me all this iron? He said, oh, you gonna be a contractor? I said, yeah, I wanna be a contractor like you, have me a pretty desk, my own coffee pot. He laughed. He said, oh, I'll think about it. That was it. So, but he said, I'll call you when the iron comes in, you know, the rebar first. About 3 weeks later, I come home, my wife said, Bill Stevenson called, I want you to call him. So I called him, and he said, Bill, he said, iron coming in, what, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it was. And so I got my brother and a boy that welded for me for 25 years, a boy named Alvin Castle. Nub, called him Nub. Well, we went over there and went to his office and had the rebar and everything out there to get started, you know, put the drill shaft in, all that stuff. And so Bill said, I've been thinking about what you said about subbing you all this iron. He said, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. And he started talking about he's going to pay for this, give me the percentage of that, subtract this from that. I didn't know what he's talking about, it going over my head. I said, that sounds good, but he's going to give me a payday every week, excluding the contract, you know. I mean, it wasn't no written contract, just mouth to mouth. And anything over that I could have, you know. But I was gonna get a payday every week, that made no difference, you know. And so we went to work. And we'd get there in the morning, and we'd turn our lights on, and I pick up and go to work, me and my brother and Nub, 3 of us. And we finished that bridge like over 3 months before it was supposed to be finished. And anyway, he called me in the office, and he said, I want to set it up with you. And I said, go set it up with me. They had to wait until they sold the bridge to the state, you know. And I was done on another job somewhere, and more or less forgot about it, you know. And he said, I want settle up with you, Bill. I said, okay. And so I went over there and went in the office and got a cup of coffee, and he handed me a check. Well, I just put it in my pocket. I didn't want to see it. You know, well, this ain't enough, or, you know, I just put it in my pocket. And so he said, I got some, I did 7 bridges for him out on Katy Freeway, all them bridges out there. I put the rebar in all them and the retaining walls and all that. Anyway, got that check. Well, it was, I'm going down Galveston Freeway. I was going back home. That check was just bothering me. I had to stop and look at it. I pulled it out, looked at it, and said, paid to the order of WS Trero, 18,000. I hit my brakes. I said, he must have made a mistake. This was in 66, 1966. So I looked at that check. I went straight to my banker. Is this check any good? He said, yeah, it's good. And I went right to the Ford place. That's where the Mustangs come out. Bought me a brand new Mustang, paid cash for it. I said, man, I'm a contractor.
You're a contractor.
I've been a contractor out of me.
Yeah.
I did work all over the country. I did work for, in Alta, Oklahoma for the Army, a government job. I did a job there, did one in Corpus at the naval base, did one there for them. And I built bridges down in Guaymas, Mexico, Laredo, El Paso, built bridges all down there. And all of Beltway 10, Interstate 10, most of all that I put iron in. And so I had to go.
No, you were more or less in the steel construction business.
Right, that's what I did.
That was your deal, man.
Yeah.
It's Trios to rebar.
There you go.
It was rebar. It's Trero Rebar Foundation. Well, I just did.
Okay.
I just did the rebar work. But
I'm gonna ask you, getting back to the military a little bit, but your experiences in the military, did that influence you later on, and
well,
the way you think about the war or any war and stuff like that?
you know, I guess everybody wondered if I hadn't went to service, wait till I was 19 and 21, well, I'd have been just right probably for Korea. Maybe I got killed on Korea, I don't know, you know. And you wonder about that, you know. And but I'm really glad in a way that I went in when I was so young, because I learned so much, which I passed on to my girls. We had 5 daughters, and I passed it on to them kids, and they're gung ho. You know, I mean, they go to all the reunions with us, and then I was commander of the VFW there, like I said, for 6 years, and we'd have our meetings in San Antonio or Dallas somewhere. They'd always go with me. They always, you know, they were right with their daddy everywhere I went. And I have a granddaughter now that we partially raised. She's in California, and she's a singer, and she's on the album with what's his name?
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown.
Oh, really?
She's on the album with him, and so hopefully she'll be #1 pretty soon, you know.
Hopefully, yeah.
And her name is Sabrina Antoinette, Sabrina. But now, you know, you of course you always, you think, well, if I had no one in, how would my life have been years from now? You know, of course, then my wife and I, we've been married like 57 years. I don't know how she put up with me that long. But the way I am now, I mean, she's not only my wife, she's my doctor. And sometimes she got to help me get my clothes on. And she's my nurse, my doctor. I got a new truck. I never drove it. She's the driver. So I'd be,
That pretty well covers everything. Anything else that we may have missed that?
well, I don't know, what do you say?
How did you and your wife meet?
Well, there was a nightclub there on Little York, called Dude's Nightclub. And, I went there one night and I was dancing with this girl. She got real long, pretty hair, pretty girl. And I was dancing with her, and she was sitting over on a stool by herself. She wasn't 15 years old. I was like 27. And she was sitting over there by herself like this. And I got through dancing with this girl, and I went over and I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "I got a toothache." So I went across the street and got her a box of aspirin, brought them back. Then I was dancing with this girl again. And I said, "Hey, you said a little girl sitting over there?" Talking about my wife. She said, "Yeah, what about her?" You know, like, "Yeah, what about her?" I said, "I'm gonna marry that girl." She said, "Well, that just happened to be my sister." I said, "Well, I'm gonna still marry her." And it came to pass.
Yeah.
That's 57 years ago.
Ernie, you have any more questions?
But, give us the names of your daughters.
Debbie Kay, she's next to the oldest.
It is the oldest.
Huh? Debbie Kay is the oldest, and then Annette, she's in the middle, and then Jackie, she's the youngest one. And my oldest daughter, by my first marriage, she's been dead 3 years. She died of cancer. And she's buried in Jasper, Texas. And we went up there this past weekend, you know, cleaned her grave and stuff, you know what you do. So altogether we had 5 girls. And Debbie Kay, she worked for Continental Airlines for years. And then when they broke up, well, they wanted to go to New York, and she didn't want to do that, so she works for there in Houston for the big company now. And my other daughters, she works for a big company. And then Jackie, she's a beautician. And my wife was a beautician. So,
How many grandkids do you have?
have 2 boys and 4 girls. 4 girls. Can't keep up with them. That's kind
Can you remember their names?
so far.
Can you give us their names?
Dominic, he's one of the grandboys. And James Roselle, he's one of the grandsons. And then Stephanie Ivy, she's one of the granddaughters. And her sister,
Shauna.
Shauna, she lives in Dallas. She's a granddaughter. And Sabrina, she's a granddaughter. Is that all of them?
Jennifer.
Oh, and Jennifer. Jennifer was a cheerleader for the Dallas, not for Dallas, for the Houston football team for 2 years.
We had 2 great-grandbabies by her.
And 2 great-grandbabies. So I've did my share.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Well, she did her share.
Is there anything that you want to add? You want to say anything? Cause your family's gonna see this before anybody else.
Oh, is that right? Well, they all know that I love them, you know. And they're all, I can start cooking meatballs and spaghetti, and I think they can smell it all the way from Trinity. Because here they come. And I learned to do that when I was a boy. You know, there wasn't stores like Walmart's and nothing like that. You know, you had to go to the mom and pop store and buy your stuff. And so every Friday, I didn't go home, I went to my grandma's house. And she was born in Italy, and my grandpa was born in Italy. And my job was grinding up all the ingredients for the meatballs. And that's how I learned to make it. And my girls, they make pretty good meatballs right now, but they can, you know, it's just mine's a little bit better, I believe.
What's your wife's name?
Louise,
And what day were y'all married? When y'all married?
it was just past, or the 27th,
July the 7th.
July 7th. We got so many
We
things
always
in
get those
July.
two mixed up.
We've got so many things that happen in July. Yeah, July 7th, yeah. Then her birthday is in July. And, what else? Well, you know, as you get older, you kind of, but I can remember things that happened years and years and years ago. But a lot of things I can't remember what happened last week.
Sometimes I can't remember what I had for dinner the day yesterday.
What happened this morning? Then you go to the bathrooms, what I come here for?
We're about out of tape anyway, so we got 3 minutes left.
Got 3 minutes with us. Well, you know, I was also a professional boxer.
Elaborate.
Yeah, well, I won the 1950. I won the Junior Olympics in Houston, and then I turned pro and fought 9 years pro. And I never was no world champion, nothing, but I fought some guys that fought. I fought Tino Lungaro and fought him 3 times. I beat him once, and he beat me, then I beat him again. And fought him 3 times. And then he had fought Jake LaMotta when LaMotta was a middleweight champion. And then I fought another boy he was from Seattle, Washington. And everybody told my trainer, said you messing up matching Billy with him, and his name was Ray Geron. I said, how come? He said, man, he knocked out Al Hostak. And Tony, my trainer, he said, well, I ain't worried. So Tony went up to his dressing room and seen him, and he was cut up all around the eyes and everything. He come back, unbeknown to me, he come back downstairs and says, we ain't worried about him. And I say to myself, we ain't worried. I said, I'm really got to be worried, not you. You know. But what he meant is he'd been hit a lot because his eyes all sewed up. And he said he'd been hit a lot. He said Billy gonna hit him. But anyway, he had knocked out Al Hostak. And I said, well, who the hell is Al Hostak? Said he was a contender for the middleweight champion of the world. I said, well, good thing you telling me that now. But, you know, when I was fighting, I'd fight down in New Orleans, like 10-round main event, maybe make $300. I fought in New Orleans a lot.
Where was that at? Down at the Coliseum?
Yeah, and I used to go to John Hotel to eat.
Yeah.
That's where I stayed, the John Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You fought Roy Harris.
Huh?
Roy Harris.
Roy Harris?
Yeah,
Well, did you know a guy named Bill Harley?
Bill Harley.
He fought Roy Harris too.
No, I never fought Roy. Roy was a heavyweight. I weighed 159 pounds.
Yes, this is the same Roy Harris that had the real estate in
Oh,
Colorado.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
a mayor, all that, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew him, but he had a brother that was, he had a brother that was mean, Toby Harris. And I fought Toby 3 times. And when I fought Toby, he had 17 straight knockouts.
That's all it takes.
Pick up the step a little bit. We're going a little bit too slow.